Everyone is afraid of something. Fear. That word fear can hold us back from becoming who we truly want to become. Hello there. If you are joining us for the very first time, welcome to Defining You. I'm Helena J, a communications professional, a podcaster, voiceover artist, and MC. And this episode is all about conquering fear. In episode 25, I said I have some exciting things in store for you. So I just want to remind you all that I'm doing something special this month. I'll be hosting solo episodes for the first time after listening to your feedback. What I heard from you is that you want to hear more from me. Okay, you got it. Your wish is my command. Now, my goal is to continue to spread inspiration and encourage women like you to follow their passion. So stick around and tell me what you think. At the end of the episode, I'll let you know how you can get in touch with me. And also, I have an announcement about how you can become a guest. Now, this particular episode is going to be different because it's just you and me. And this topic is important to me because confronting my fear is why I have this podcast. It's why I'm a voiceover artist. It's why I continue to walk in my purpose. Listen to this episode to understand how one moment can affect you like it did for me. How fear can force you to limit yourself, and how you can get back on the path toward living your dreams just like me. And if you are listening to this episode on Apple Podcasts, I'd appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star review. It really helps people decide to listen to the show. And thank you for taking the time to do so. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Okay, here we go. I want to talk about fear because I feel like fear has had a strong hold on me for a very long time. And I feel like I'm not the only one. I think there are many people who are also struggling in fear. For me, I dealt with rejection, and that made me think I wasn't good enough. We'll get to that a bit later. So I know this story is probably going to help someone. So I thought, if I'm going to get into this space, I also want to be transparent about my own struggles. And that in turn will help someone take a look at themselves and see what they can do about their own fears and how to move forward. You know, I had a hard time starting this podcast because I was afraid. I was reflecting on things that have happened to me in the past and feeling like I still may not be good enough to be a broadcaster. And that still impacts me today. Because every time I have to start something new, like doing this solo episode, I feel like I go back into that space and still feel like I'm not good enough. But I'm trying not to let fear hold me back. I can't let fear hold me back because I remember early on, I changed my career path because I was afraid of rejection. I'll tell you why. I remember graduating from Emerson College and feeling really good about where I was and getting job opportunities in broadcasting. And I had an opportunity to get an interview at one of the top radio stations in Boston. And I felt like this is going to be my big chance. So I'm all excited about the interview and it goes well. The woman who was interviewing me told me I was qualified and smart and that I had great ideas. But she said she didn't know what to do with me. She didn't know what to do with me because I had an accent. Let me tell you, that just about destroyed me. It broke my confidence because becoming a radio personality was so important to me. I had been fascinated by radio since I was a young girl growing up. I participated in talk shows called the DJs, and there was one particular lady that really did it for me when I was young. Her name was Lorraine Henry on Voice of Barbados. Around that time, when listening to the radio in the Caribbean radio stations were really dominated by male voices. And so to hear a female voice just really captivated me. Not just the voice, but she had such a good presence on air and great command. And, listening to Lorraine, I felt like she was talking directly to me, and that was just really exciting. And believe it or not, it gave me the idea that I could do it too. And so before I migrated to the United States, I worked in media as a radio announcer, and I was ready to conquer the world. I was really confident back then. I was inquisitive, I was bold, and because of this female radio personality, I knew what was possible. And so when I was rejected for this role because of my accent, I was hurt. I was in my feelings. I felt like I had all this experience, and here is someone telling me that I am smart and qualified, but that I couldn't get a job because of the way I speak. That really hurt me. My Caribbean accent didn't fit at that radio station, and that was crushing. It was very disappointing to me. And knowing where I come from, as a Caribbean national, we are very resilient people. And so I decided I couldn't face more of that kind of rejection. So I came up with a plan B. I went back to school to pursue my education and got a master's degree in corporate and organizational communications. It wasn't radio, but it was in the same family of communications. At that time, that felt like the smart thing to do. And you know what? I had good experiences as a communications professional. I worked in corporate America. I work for nonprofit organizations. And now I'm working in healthcare. I'm doing great work, but I always felt like something was missing. I didn't feel like I was fulfilling my purpose. That is not to say I don't enjoy my job, but rather finishing work and not having anything to occupy your time, why not use that time to tap into my passion? I always went back to what if I get back into that field? What would that be like? And so I was constantly trying to overcome that fear of what somebody said to me. And what if someone else said the same thing? I did things on the side. I hosted community radio and television programs, but I never really took control of my journey. So fast forward, the landscape is changing online with all the different platforms. I felt like there was an opportunity for me to explore with podcasting. Even if I was full of fear, I wanted to try and see how I could get back and do what I love. And that's how the idea of podcasting came about. But I needed an extra push. So while going to Emerson College, I listened to television a lot. And Entertainment Tonight was one of the shows I really enjoyed listening to. And I would hear Randy Thomas's voice on the promos. I was always fascinated by that voice. It just was so unique and it stood out. It was fun and it just spoke to me. I had been following her for a very long time. And so about 2 years ago, my niece found an old photo of mine with me in the studio hosting my former radio show back home. And that really brought back so many memories to me. And I posted it online and made reference to Randy Thomas and saying, one day I hope to be like Randy Thomas. And I tagged her in the post because we were friends on Facebook. That day, to my surprise, I got an inbox message from Randy Thomas. And I was just besides myself because I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't think it was real. You know what? She was so touched by the fact that I was talking about her in that way. She said, I think I can help you, and offered to be on a Zoom call with me just to talk about what I wanted to do and what I was feeling. And so we got on the call and we talked for about 2 hours. Here was this busy, famous person making time for somebody like me. She had no idea who I was. And I was so appreciative of that because this is like a dream come true. And she said some things that stayed with me. One, she said she loved my accent. And two, she's a voiceover coach and she invited me to a voiceover session with other professionals she was working with. It was a paid only session that I was able to attend for free, and it was remarkable. There were all these professionals in the industry, people who did cartoon characters and commercials and a host of other things. When I joined the session, I was just supposed to be in the gallery observing. And then one of the coaches called me out to read a script. And there I was, afraid again. I was so worried about my accent and feeling out of place that I hesitated. But they encouraged me, and I went ahead and read the script despite my fears. And when I was done, Randy Thomas said, "Oh my God, don't you just love that voice? I love the accent." I couldn't believe it because this is the one thing that somebody once said to me that was a barrier for me. But here was Randy Thomas, who's considered the preeminent voiceover artist in America, the 10th time announcer of the Academy Awards, and the 20th time announcer of the Tony Awards, among others. And she was complimenting me on my voice and my accent. So that just really boosted me in a way that I had never felt before. And it gives me the inspiration to give radio another shot. I ended up having her as a guest in episode 7 on this podcast. And one of the things she said to me is that you'll never get anywhere unless you do what scares you. You must do what scares you. I also had a second moment of inspiration that pushed me to give podcasting a try. I was a guest on the Celeste the Therapy podcast, and I had told her about my rejection at the radio station. And through that conversation, I was convinced that I had a story to tell and something more to offer. You know, throughout all of this, I thought deeply about what it means to be afraid to do the things that you love. And you know, fear comes in many forms, whether it's fearing failure or feeling like you're not good enough, just like me, or just afraid of what other people might say or think. This is the kind of fear that can haunt you and prevent you from following your passion and becoming who you are meant to be. It's a kind of fear that delays and kills dreams. But the only way you're going to know if you can do something about it is if you step into your fear and do the thing you're afraid of. I think it's important to identify specifically what fear is affecting you. And I think you have to find simple ways to empower yourself to take action. Think about your situation, whatever that might be for you, and make a change. Start today if you want tomorrow to change. Find simple ways to overcome your own fear day by day. Whatever that thing is that is making you feel like you cannot move forward, like you're stuck, I think it's important for people to take action on that every day. Let me be honest with you here. I'm still fearful. And I still feel like I'm not the best out there. But you know what? I'm still taking a step every day and every week through my podcast, doing my interviews. And some people might not even think that I have that fear, because when I start talking, I feel so energized and really enjoy the conversations that I'm having because I love what I do. So by just going through it and experiencing it for your own self, I think it's a way for you to be empowered and to just walk through whatever fear it is that you have. But you have to tackle it head on. Something I heard someone say some time ago is that fear can stop you from living the life you want. And so by you taking that step forward, that's where you'll eventually have the opportunity to end that fear, and your life will begin to grow, and you'll begin to see what you've always been missing. You know what? I want to thank you so much for listening to this solo episode of Defining You. It's something new, and it was on my heart to try this format. I'd really love to get your feedback. Get in touch with me by emailing connectwithhelenaj@gmail.com. And before you leave, I have an announcement. After this month, I'm going on a break to prepare for season 2 of Defining You, and I'm looking for guests. If that's you or someone you know, get in touch with me by emailing me at connectwithhelenaj@gmail.com. You'll find the email address in the show notes. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook and Instagram and DM me at Helena J now and let me know what you think. You can also search Defining You with Helena J on your favorite podcast platform. Now, I hope you enjoy Defining You. Thank you.